Okay, hello Bio 2. We are going to finish our last section about plants today. So this is our last plant video, and we're going to talk about some more adaptations that plants have to survive. So this part of this section is titled Nutritional Specialists. So this is going to focus on how plants obtain nutrients from sources other than photosynthesis. So sometimes there are plants that do not photosynthesize to make their food, to make their sugars that they need to survive. And so then there are some plants that have specialized features for obtaining nutrients that include carnivorous plants and parasites. So we've talked about a couple of these before, but we'll get into some more specifics here now. So our first are going to be carnivorous plants. So there's some plants that live in wet and acidic environment with little or no nitrogen present, and they obtain nutrients using specialized leaves that will trap and digest insects. So the reason why they have to do this is because there's acidic environments and there's no nitrogen present. And the leaf will then after the leaves that trap the insects, or there's other animals as well that it can trap, the leaf will secrete enzymes that digest the insect, and they release nitrogen for the plant to use. So the big reason why that carnivorous plants have evolved this ability is because there's not enough nutrients, mainly being nitrogen, that they can take from the environment to survive. And so they capture insects using their leaves. And the best known carnivorous plant is the Venus flytrap. Now I said that they don't only eat insects because it looks like this one has captured a frog that will digest and provide nutrients to the rest of the plant. So our next nutritional specialists are known as parasites. So some plants will extract water and nutrients directly from a host plant. And like all parasites, these plants harm their host organisms and sometimes even pose a serious threat to other species. And then one example that they give is Cuscuta, and this is a parasitic plant that grows directly into the vascular tissue of its host, so it literally shoots its roots right down into its xylem and the phloem of its host, and therefore it will extract nutrients and water. So literally, the most kind of effective way, I guess, for a plant to be a parasite is to inject its way right into the xylem and the phloem of another plant. And another plant that kind of does this as well is mistletoe. If you did not know that, mistletoe is kind of known as a type of parasite as well. And then epiphytes, and these are not necessarily parasites. So these are plants that are not rooted in soil, but they instead grow directly on the bodies of other plants. And these most are found in the tropical rainforest biome, but they also can grow in other moist biomes. So epiphytes literally grow right on another plant, and the reason why they can grow in the tropical rainforest is because there's so much moisture in the air that they don't really need the ground to get their moisture. And some more specifics about epiphytes: they are not parasites, which I mentioned. Instead, they gather their own moisture, generally from rainfall, and they produce their own food. And so one of the most common epiphytes is Spanish moss, and this is found pretty heavily down in the southern parts of the country. But one of the most famous epiphytes that I saw a lot when I was in Costa Rica are orchids, and they can actually be very beautiful, but again, remembering that they're not parasites is one of the most important things here, because they gather their own moisture and they produce their own food. So our last part are some chemical defenses that plants have evolved. Again, we've mentioned things like this briefly with hormones and things like that. And so plants are an important source of food for insects. And again, we said that plants can't just get up and walk away when an insect starts eating on them. So how do they defend themselves from insects? So many plants defend themselves against insect attack by manufacturing compounds that have powerful effects on animals. So powerful effects meaning that it could either taste really bad to the animals, or it could in fact kill the animals. So some of these chemicals are poisons that can be lethal if eaten, which I just said. Others act as insect hormones, which will disrupt normal development and prevent insects from reproducing. So once the insect eats it, it basically sterilizes the insect. Therefore, it's not going to lay any more eggs, and no more insects are going to come along and eat on the plant. So plants are not completely helpless. They have a lot of adaptations that kind of help them survive in some extreme conditions. So that's it for chapter 25. Let me know if you have any questions.